Welcome back to Anthem. In this video I'm going to be explaining what I think are some of the best things to use for an early game ranger build. You can probably use some of this stuff across different javelins, but I use the ranger, he's my main at the moment, and I've picked up a few of his things that are pretty cool to use. You get good combos with them, you deal decent damage. I'm not going to go into too much depth about like the weapons and things because it's personal preference. You're going to do better with different guns to what I do. But there's some certain things like the support gear and stuff that you can use that I think personally is the best to use for a ranger. When I say early game, I mean before you hit like level 30 and start doing all the legendary contracts and all the other things. This is before you even become a rare javelin. Like this is at the uncommon stage. So it's very, very early game. A lot of this stuff is going to be found by luck, so it's not guaranteed that you can even get the build. But I'm pretty sure with work on challenges, once you've found like an uncommon or even a common item, you can work on building stronger variants of it. Like you get the blueprint, you level up the blueprint by doing challenges, then you can go and craft better ones. So we're going to start at the very top right of the customization. When you're in your forge looking at your ranger, you have the components. These are not that important to my build. Obviously there's going to be millions of different builds on YouTube. You lot are going to come up with your own builds. A lot of the builds are going to be better than others. As I said, a lot of this is personal preference. But for me to deal the most damage, which is the ranger's job as a DPS, I haven't really got any good sort of components to use. I just go for the ones that increase your armor and your health, like your shield and health. Later on in the game, there's obviously going to be better builds to make with the masterwork, legendary items, and so on. The support gear, you have two choices really as a ranger. You have bulwark point and you have muster point. Personally, I use bulwark point. If you have two rangers in your team of 4, then it could be good to go with one of each. But the muster point increases your team's damage by 20% if you're in the shield. The bulwark point deflects damage off the shield. One thing you need to be careful of though, is if you're against a titan or an enemy like that, something that can do some elemental damage. If your shield is set on fire, whilst you're standing inside it, you will take damage from that. So it's best to just leave the shield, wait until you can deploy another one, and just carry on. The weapons, again, a personal preference. I always like to run a light machine gun. I don't know why, I just feel the ammo count is good for me, like it fits my playstyle kind of thing. And then my secondary is normally, at the start of the game, going to be an assault rifle, or lately I've been enjoying a marksman rifle because the damage seems to be a little bit better, and you can also get like 4-round burst marksman rifles and stuff. And again, it doesn't matter too much what weapons you're using, just find the ones you're comfortable with, because this is all basic stuff. It's going to get a lot more in depth and a lot more difficult. There's going to be a much bigger variety of things you're going to have in your build the later you get into the game. Then we have two things left. We've spoken about the support gear, we've spoken about components, we've spoken about weapons. The grenade I'm going to talk about first because this is the important one. I've gone with the frost grenade because it allows you to freeze your enemies. The reason I like freezing the enemies, obviously they can't move and deal damage to you, but if you're against a mini boss like the Enforcer or something, you can freeze your enemy, and then if you mix that with the assault launcher, which is going to be the spark beam, that is going to combo off the freeze. So also, if you have a storm in your mix of javelins for the expedition, the storm's going to freeze the enemies. Make sure your assault launcher is the spark beam, because that thing is overpowered, especially when your enemies are frozen. At the level we was at, I don't know if this is a good stat or anything, I think we was around level 13 or 14. Our power level is not too high, so that's not really important. But when the Enforcer was frozen, I obviously target his crit point, which is like the gas canisters on his back or the one on his arm. Normal damage with the spark beam, I was doing about 400. Critical damage, I was doing about 600, which was fairly high. The Enforcers were dying pretty quickly doing this. And the good thing about the spark beam is, if you've got other assault launchers, you get like 1 or 2 hits. Like with the venom darts, I think it is. You get like 1 or 2 hits, then you have to wait for the cooldown. With the spark beam, you just hold your button in, and you get like 10 hits with it. Like you get 10 seconds, or whatever it is, for that assault launcher. Then it starts to cool down. And with some inscriptions on weapons and things like that, you're going to have cooldown speeds a lot quicker. So it's just about finding the good build. But so far, like the main goal of my video, this video that you're watching now, is to tell you about the grenades and the assault launcher, because those two mixed together, freezing your enemies and then spark beaming them into another dimension, is the best thing by far about this build. It deals a lot of damage, the freezing stops you taking damage, then you've got your bulwark point to help revive teammates and things like that. To me, it was a very solid build. I wasn't having too much fun with the Ranger before putting this build together, like before getting these items and stuff, but now it's a lot more enjoyable, and it's also easier. If you've had any hands-on experience with this game, let me know what you think of it. Do you have any builds that you think are pretty cool that I could check out? That's going to be the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.